You're not surprised he's leading the league in block shots.
No, or missing teeth.
Yeah, he's never got those teeth in. Jonas, you're down there every day. I've never seen him with teeth.
Yeah.
Like, he hates teeth. Chris Tanev hates teeth. But he'll be ready to rock tomorrow. And I'm sure you guys will, too. It'll be a fun one. Enjoy it, Pete. We really appreciate you doing this, as always.
Thanks, AZ. Take care, guys.
You got it. There's Peter DeBoer of the Dallas Stars. And, yeah, they got a good team. They got a good team down in Dallas. That's a good division, too.
Well, and they just keep, developing players. You're like, oh, that guy's pretty good. And then you're like,
well, he rattled off, a bunch of kids that
many.
have come up. And I don't think he mentioned Stankoven.
That's the one.
Logan Stankoven.
You watched him last year, who's this guy?
Yeah, Stankoven is phenomenal. And Wyatt
Harley?
Johnston and
Thomas
Harley's
Harley,
a really good player in their top four. Ottinger's not an old guy either. Ottinger's in his prime in net.
Yeah.
And they're just a really consistently good team. And DeBoer's a great coach, and that'll be a good game. And, yeah, JP said it was an OT winner where he passed Vive in Dallas. Mm-hmm. That was a couple years ago, I think, Matthews, when he on pace to 60. So that would have been 3 years ago now, I guess. But I remember his reaction. That was a big one. I think Joe Bowen had a great call that night, too, as you would expect. A big moment like that. But these are fun. You only get to see Dallas, a couple times a year. And it's a later game. You don't see that always. I think it's an 8 p.m. puck drop tomorrow night. 8:30. You don't get that too often.
Well, and this is a different test than they've been facing recently. They haven't played it's not their fault. They play the teams they play. But this is a real test. And now you just lost your number one goalie. Let's see. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, you got tonight, and then you got Monday against Winnipeg if you're the Leafs. And in between that, you got two games that you should take advantage of, Buffalo and the Islanders, who are really struggling right now. The whole state of New York is in chaos.
Who's doing the best? The Mets. Yes.
They're not playing, though. The Knicks are doing the best.
Yeah.
Knicks are in the race in the East. Nets are actually better than people
They
thought.
are.
Jordy Fernandez is doing a really good job down there.
Devils are a good one.
They're not technically in the state, though.
They're Jersey. You're right. That is not New York.
Buffalo, the Bills are doing the best.
Okay.
What am I talking about?
The New York rankings?
Yes. If we did the state of New York rankings, the Sabres would be last.
Yeah.
The Bills would be first.
I really can't believe they haven't made the playoffs in that long. Is it 2011?
13 years.
That's crazy.
And it's going to be 14 now. You can etch that in stone. 14 years without making the playoffs. And the second team, in terms of Big Four pro sports with the longest drought, the New York Jets.
Yes.
The Jets have been, I think, 11 years or something without making the playoffs.
What was it here for a while?
It was from 04 until 13 they got it. I think it was 11 years with a lockout. It was probably 9 or 10 seasons. Yeah, because it was post lockout. They didn't get there until the short year in
13. I just think it's interesting how the bar has changed over the years.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the beginning it was they made the playoffs, cool, amazing, and then it's well, that's not that great. Just win you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now it's well, you can't win less than one round. You got to, you know what I mean? You need to win multiple rounds.
Well, 9 years in, you would expect the bar to move a little bit.
The expectations change a little bit.
Yeah, let's push it forward a little bit here, guys. Come on. All right, Mike Johnson in about 20 minutes. More on the Monday Nighters last night. More on Dan Campbell doing an interview on radio in Detroit that's going to get you pretty hyped up. Lions are going back to the Super Bowl. Lions are feeling it here. Dan Campbell's taking on this challenge. We'll get to that more still to come. In the NBA Cup happening in Vegas tonight. Oklahoma City against Milwaukee. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. All right, so we got some breaking news in Major League Baseball. Jeff Passan of ESPN reporting that Cody Bellinger has been traded from the Cubs to the Yankees. So Bellinger is 29, former MVP, has 2 years remaining on his contract with an opt-out after the 25 season. And I'm waiting to see what is going back the other way. But it sounds like the Cubs were trying to get out from underneath it in terms of cash. They just acquired Kyle Tucker, which is a really good pickup by them. Mm-hmm. But it's weird. Bellinger was available last offseason. The Cubs, he waited. Remember how long he had to wait? And the Cubs finally paid him. And he's had an up-and-down career. When he broke in with the Dodgers, I thought that guy was just going to be Mr. Dodger forever.
Well, he had that one incredible year. Remember when him
MVP?
And Yelich were going back-to-back for MVP?
But
head-to-head?
Now you look what the Yankees have done. They've
Freed.
They picked up a premium closer. Now they bring in Bellinger.
Are you getting a little deja vu for the Jays? Where it's like, oh my God.
Well, it's just been very quiet for the Jays.
Yeah, like
there's still a lot of guys available.
Yep.
They're going to sign players. It's just a matter of whether or not they sign impact players.
Yes.
Yeah. Right/impact.
Yeah.
Because they're going to fill out the roster.
But it's like you went back to last offseason and it was like, Justin Turner? Like and they're letting Matt Chapman go and then that's it? That's what it is?
That's what is concerning is it was Turner, Kiner-Falefa, Kiermaier, who had no market.
And at the end of his career.
And
that was
about it. Like they've signed Garcia. They brought him back, someone they know. Fine. He adds to their bullpen. Cool. But they need at least another arm, I would think, in the bullpen for sure. Mm-hmm. I think their rotation is more volatile than people think.
It's old.
It's an old rotation.
Yeah.
And you're looking at Bowden Francis, who was phenomenal down the stretch. His final 10 starts, outstanding. Can you truly rely on that guy doing that for 30 starts?
I don't know.
Like, I don't think that's a smart practice. It's a bonus if he gives you anything close to it. That's great. You have to get to camp just to see what he's got and see if he can replicate that. Was it just a flash in the pan, or was it more than that? I don't know.
Well, and the league will adjust, right?
Yeah, and it's not like he doesn't have A-plus stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He just was pitching phenomenally well, and I mean phenomenally well.
Yeah,
he was unbelievable. But Gausman didn't have a great year based on his standards. Bassett didn't have a great year.
Mm-hmm.
Barrios got it back on the rails.
Yep.
But Barrios is not an ace. Yep. Like he's not a depth pitcher, but he's like a number 3 on a great staff.
So who would be your dream guy for them to get? Corbin Burns?
I guess so, because he's generally reliable. Like he's a guy that doesn't get hurt. You knock on wood with starting arms, and his numbers are phenomenal. He's got A+ stuff. Like he immediately.
He's your ace.
He's your ace. And then that pushes Gausman down. It pushes Bassett down. It pushes Barrios down. And then you hope Francis is anything close to what he was. And now maybe you're talking.
Mm-hmm. But then what about your offense?
That is the issue.
Yeah.
Is how much money do they actually have? And here's a core issue that I think is being overlooked here, because we always get sensitive up here in Toronto, and I think there's a truth to it that there's certain guys that just aren't that interested in living in Toronto or Canada or whatever. That's just a reality of our scenario. It's no different than other small markets. Players aren't dying to go to the Pirates or go to the Reds or go to the Rays. Like, that's just the way it is. If you're not New York, if you're not LA, maybe Miami, maybe Houston, maybe Boston, maybe Chicago. Like, if you're not in that group, San Francisco maybe, you're battling with different variables. But I think one thing that needs to be stated here is they're not that good.
Yes.
Like, they were awful last year.
Mm-hmm.
So what is your pitch to a guy who wants to win? What are you pitching? And if you're a player like Corbin Burns,
yeah,
aren't you asking Mark and Ross, are you two going to be here in the future? Is John Schneider going to be here in the future? And is Vladdy Guerrero Jr. going to be here in the future?
Well, what else is going to be here?
They can't answer any of that definitively.
Is Bo Bichette going to be
Bo Bichette, exactly. Like, you can't get none of them are going to say yes. Like, Mark might say, yeah, I'll be here, but he doesn't know that for sure.
You're right. How's your prospect pool?
Not very good. Bottom third in baseball, according to every publication. So it's a tough pitch just based on competition.
Yeah.
That's where they're at right now.
Teoscar would be my
It very well could be, but I think they could get that done right now if they just paid him. I think he wants 3 years plus at big money. They don't want to go there because they're always trying to win a negotiation. They're trying to be disciplined, so they'll probably lose out. Probably goes back to the Dodgers.
$800 if that's what it takes.
Got to pay to play. Got to pay to play. Hour 2 coming up. Mike Johnson will join us. Confirm and deny coming up as well. Overdrive continues.
The Leafs center dilemma: who can strengthen the roster? If you're a Toronto Maple Leafs fan like me, you know the team's center depth has been a constant concern this season. With Austin Matthews set to return from a mysterious upper body injury next week, the excitement of having our star back is palpable. However, there are still serious issues to address in the center position to keep the team competitive and, of course, fuel our playoff dreams. David Kampf, a key piece in the center rotation, is sidelined with a lower body injury. As if that weren't enough, Kaye Jarnkrok is still recovering from surgery, leaving another gap in the lineup. Max Domi, expected to be a versatile asset, has been placed on injured reserve, further aggravating the situation after missing consecutive practices due to lingering pains. To sum it up, the Leafs are missing 4 functional centers, and the pressure to act is mounting. James Myrtle, a respected Leafs analyst and contributor to The Athletic, highlighted a series of potential trade targets to address this dilemma during his appearance on the J.D. Bunke's podcast. Among the names mentioned, two stood out: Nick Jugstad and, for the nostalgic fans, a possible reunion with Ryan O'Reilly. Jugstad seems to be Myrtle's favorite, and for good reason. The player, who signed a 2-year deal with the Utah Hockey Club last offseason, carries a manageable $2.1 million cap hit, which is essential for a team as salary cap-strapped as the Leafs. Additionally, standing at 6 feet 6 inches and weighing 205 pounds, he would bring not only physicality but also consistent offensive contributions. Jugstad is the most viable option for the Leafs right now, Myrtle stated on the podcast. And he's right. Experienced and versatile, Jugstad has played for several teams, including the Florida Panthers, Pittsburgh Penguins, Minnesota Wild, and Edmonton Oilers, and could quickly adapt to the Leafs' dynamic. With an affordable contract and a solid track record, he offers a practical solution without sacrificing too many future assets. However, it's impossible to ignore the possibility of a Ryan O'Reilly return. Yes, we know he chose the Nashville Predators last summer in search of a quieter environment, but the Leafs management still holds him in high regard. The 2019 Stanley Cup-winning captain with the St. Louis Blues is precisely the type of player any contender would love to have on their roster. However, the cost of bringing him back would be steep, both in terms of trade assets and cap space adjustments, as Nashville or a third team would need to retain part of his salary. I don't think the O'Reilly scenario is entirely out of reach, Myrtle said, showing that there's optimism within the organization. However, there are doubts about how much it's worth investing in a 33-year-old player, even with his impeccable credentials. Meanwhile, cheaper internal options like Steven Lorentz, Connor Dewar, Pontus Holmberg, and Fraser Minten have been mentioned. But let's be honest, these names might serve as short-term stopgaps, but they're far from offering the stability and impact the team needs. The pressure is all on GM Brad Treliving. He knows that despite the Leafs' solid performance so far, the center position is crucial to sustaining any championship aspirations. With the trade deadline approaching, Treliving has likely intensified his efforts to finalize a deal. And we, the fans, are eagerly awaiting good news. For now, all we can do is trust that the team can weather this tough phase and hope a solution, whether it's Jugstad, O'Reilly, or another name, arrives before things spiral out of control. After all, as we all know, the Leafs don't have the luxury of wasting another season with a promising but incomplete roster. The time to act is now. The Leafs center dilemma, expanding on the potential solutions. The Toronto Maple Leafs, amidst another promising yet tumultuous season, face one of their most pressing challenges, addressing a depleted center lineup that threatens to derail their momentum. While the return of Auston Matthews is a beacon of hope, the broader picture remains dire, requiring urgent action from the front office. With Kampf, Jarnkrok, and Domi sidelined, the team's depth has been stretched thin. The immediate impact is clear on both ends of the ice. Defensively, the Leafs are struggling to suppress opposing top lines without reliable two-way centers. Offensively, puck distribution and power play setups have been less dynamic, as the makeshift lineups lack the same chemistry. This imbalance underscores the necessity for reinforcements. Nick Jugstad, as highlighted by James Myrtle, presents the most realistic trade option. His affordable contract and towering physical presence align perfectly with the Leafs' needs. Beyond his imposing stature, Jugstad brings versatility. He can play both center and wing, a flexibility that would allow head coach Sheldon Keefe to adjust the lineup dynamically. However, acquiring Jugstad isn't without complications. The Utah Hockey Club, formerly the Arizona Coyotes, is currently rebuilding but may still demand a premium return for their experienced forward. The Leafs will likely need to part with a mid-tier prospect or draft pick to make the deal work. With their prospect pool already thin, Treliving faces a tough decision. Another name that excites fans and analysts alike is Ryan O'Reilly. The former Conn Smythe winner and Stanley Cup champion has a proven track record of elevating teams in high-stakes situations. His leadership during his brief stint with Toronto last season left a lasting impression. Yet, the Predators have little incentive to move him unless the offer is overwhelming. Should the Leafs pursue O'Reilly, it would almost certainly require a multi-asset package. A first-round pick and a promising young player like Nick Robertson might need to be part of the conversation. Additionally, Nashville would have to retain salary, a process that often involves a third-party team to facilitate. The logistics are challenging but not insurmountable. Internal options like Pontus Holmberg and Fraser Minten offer short-term relief but lack the experience needed for a deep playoff run. Holmberg has shown flashes of potential, but his limited NHL exposure raises questions about his readiness for a consistent role. Minten, while promising, is still developing and would be better served continuing his growth in the minors. A wild-card option could be exploring European leagues or waiver claims to unearth an overlooked talent. teams like the Vegas Golden Knights and Colorado Avalanche have found gems in unconventional ways, and the Leafs scouting department may need to cast a wider net to uncover an affordable, immediate solution. Another factor complicating the Leafs' decisions is the looming salary cap crunch. With Matthews' extension set to kick in soon, Toronto must be mindful of every financial commitment. Adding a high-priced center now could limit flexibility during the off-season, forcing Treliving to juggle short-term needs against long-term sustainability. Trade timing will also play a pivotal role. Acting quickly could stabilize the team and prevent further slip-ups in the standings, but it may come at the cost of negotiating leverage. Alternatively, waiting closer to the deadline could yield better deals as selling teams grow more desperate. The risk, however, is enduring several more weeks of uncertainty. Sheldon Keefe's role in navigating this storm can't be overstated. His ability to extract maximum effort from an injury-riddled lineup will be crucial. Keefe has already experimented with unconventional line combinations, but the lack of true centers limits his tactical options. A new acquisition would provide the stability he needs to implement a more structured game plan. The Leafs locker room has remained resilient through adversity, with veterans like John Tavares and Morgan Rielly stepping up as vocal leaders. However, even their efforts may not be enough to overcome the absence of key personnel. Reinforcements are not just a luxury, they're a necessity. For fans, the anxiety is palpable. After years of playoff heartbreak, this season feels like another chapter in the saga of unmet expectations. Yet, there's cautious optimism. The team has shown glimpses of brilliance, and the addition of a solid center could be the missing piece that transforms them from contenders to genuine threats. As the trade rumors swirl, one thing is certain: the next few weeks will be critical in shaping the Leafs season. Whether it's Jugstad, O'Reilly, or an unexpected name, the decision made by Brad Treliving and his staff could define not just this campaign, but the team's trajectory for years to come. For now, we wait, hopeful that the Leafs will seize the moment and finally deliver on their immense potential. Will the Leafs make their move? As the speculation intensifies, the Leafs fan base is holding its collective breath, waiting for signs of a breakthrough.